Hi, I'm Claire and welcome to my channel, Guadalupe Academy, where we talk all things homeschooling young children and neurodivergent children. So today I just want to bring you guys on a little plan with me because we are starting our term 1 next week. And if you're new here, I am a mother of 2. My oldest is going to be turning 4 this fall and my youngest is about to turn 2. So, we're still technically in those preschool years, but my kids are neurodivergent and I'm pretty sure they are gifted. I was also gifted growing up, so that's something we're exploring. I studied child development in school and I never expected myself to be the mom that was doing like real school with my young children, and my 2-year-old is still not there yet, but the almost 4-year-old, he loves school. He asks for it. He likes workbooks and writing and reading, and these are not things that I tried to push on him. I really followed his lead, and he loves it, and he's doing really well, so we're just going to keep going. So I'm doing kind of an eclectic style of homeschooling, but I'm mostly focusing on the Mater Amabilis curriculum, which is a Catholic Charlotte Mason curriculum. But it's pretty similar to like Amabilis Online, if you're familiar with that one. And then we just kind of chose some of their book options and then some of the books I chose on my own. So I just wanted to take you guys through that while I plan for my son's first week next week. So we're gonna start out in the morning with a morning basket, which I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like yet, but we're definitely gonna do religion in the mornings. So I'm gonna make that be my first subject in my planner here. And if you're curious, the planner I'm using is the Catholic Homeschool Planner by Elizabeth Clare. And this is my first time getting her homeschool planner, but I have had her other planners in the past. I want to say there was an academic one I had when I was in college, but I definitely had one when I was first out of college and working. I had like just one of her regular planners, and I really like them. They have like the liturgical dates in them, and she has usually both the Latin Mass calendar and the Novus Ordo calendar, if you're familiar with how different Catholic churches work. But yeah, so my first subject here is religion. I'm gonna put the date. It's gonna be the week of September 2nd. So we're doing a mixture of the prep level kindergarten and the prep level pre-K. So most of the books I have are from the pre-K program, just because we did Mother of Divine Grace preschool last year, and so these ones for the Mater Amabilis pre-K are different, and he's still technically pre-K aged. So I'm probably going to focus mostly on those, which for their term 1, they have, let's see, Miracles of Jesus, which is from Tomie dePaola, and then Little Acts of Grace. I've got that somewhere here. Okay, Little Acts of Grace by Rosary Gortler and Donna Piscitelli. So I've got those 2 books, and then they also recommend as an optional one the Catholic Children's Treasure Box, so I do have all of those books as well. And the other book they recommend is A is for Altar, but I did not get that one because we have a lot of books and I spend a lot of money on books, and my kids are very familiar with the alphabet. So I think instead of that one, we're going to go back to we're going to go back to the My Picture Missal, which we got with the Mother of Divine Grace preschool. And that's just because my son was so young when we started that preschool. If you know anything about Catholic liturgy, he does really, really well at sitting and paying attention in Mass, which is impressive for a child of his age, but he definitely still needs to work on like understanding what we're doing there and how it pertains to our faith and the different biblical pieces that are there. So we'll work on the My Picture Missal, and I don't have it on me at the moment, but we do have the My First Interactive Mass book from Ascension, which I just love that one because it has like little wheels that you can spin and flaps that you can open, so it's really interesting for the kids. So I am, and let's see, how many is that? That's only, we'll do a different book each day, so that's 4 days. So I think we might also pull in the My Catholic Picture Bible stories to get some Old Testament stories, because when I look at the kindergarten program, that's what they are focusing on, is Old Testament stories. And that's definitely something I'm interested in my son learning more about, because last year we used this as well, but we only did the ones in white, which is, if you're familiar with the Great Adventure Bible timeline, each color is a different period in Bible history. So the white one is church history, so that's after Jesus has ascended to heaven, everything the apostles are doing to spread the gospel across the earth. And St. Paul, of course, is part of that. So we finished that, and he is very familiar with like the Jesus stories. So I think, yeah, he knows the creation story, so we'll probably just jump to the patriarchs. I think that'll be interesting. Okay, so they have Miracles of Jesus for Mondays. I think, yeah, I'm probably gonna try to follow this, but just mix it up just a little bit to add the Old Testament stuff in. So we'll do Miracles of Jesus, and we have not started this one yet, so I guess we'll just start from the beginning. And the first one is the wedding at Cana, so that's perfect. And if you guys don't have these books, these are really nice because they have beautiful illustrations. Of course, we all know Tomie dePaola is a wonderful illustrator, and what's written in these is the actual story out of the Bible. But it's in, normal English, so your kids will be able to understand it. It's not like from the King James Bible or Douay-Rheims or something. So I really like that because it gives the kids like the real context, and they get to really hear the Bible, but in a way that's more digestible for them, especially with the beautiful illustrations. So we'll do Miracles of Jesus, the wedding at Cana. And on Tuesday, they say to do little acts of grace. I did try to start this one with him last year, but I just felt like it was a little bit over his head. So yeah, I think we will start over. We'll do the introduction and see how long does this go. Okay, there's a lot here. So we'll just do the introduction and talking about bowing your head. So little acts of grace, intro, and talking about why we bow our heads to pray. All right, so then Wednesday is when they recommend to do A is for altar. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm going to replace that with my picture missal. And my son knows a lot of these prayers, but let's see, what do I want to work on with him? I think we're going to keep working on the penitential act because he does not have that one done yet. And that one's kind of interesting because if you've ever been to a Catholic church, there are like sometimes hand motions for prayers, and kids like that sort of thing because it helps them to really engage with what we're doing. So in the penitential act, you're confessing your sins in a general way to the Lord. And so we usually beat our breasts, which is something that we see people doing in the Bible. And so I think that'll be interesting for him to help him kind of have better engagement with what we do in church. So that's what we will talk about on Wednesday. Thursday, they are recommending to do another Miracle of Jesus, but like I said, we're going to try to pull in some Old Testament. And in the kindergarten program, they are using like a bigger, thicker children's Bible that has more details. So they're saying to do like each term really is a different section of the Bible. But like I said, this is a Bible that's recommended for 3 to 7 year olds. So this is targeted more towards younger children. And we've already read the creation stories and the flood. So I think we're going to go ahead and jump to Abraham. We'll do this one. Lots and lots of stars. Yeah. So My Catholic Picture Bible Stories from Ascension. And we're going to start with Abraham and the patriarchs. So we'll do that for a few weeks. And then Friday is when we pull in the Catholic Children's Treasure Box, which this just has like stories about, like, has a story about Saint Therese in the beginning, who is a pretty well-known saint in the Catholic world. And she also was very, very young when she became a saint. She was in her early 20s, and that is very sad, but as a result of that, we know a lot about her childhood, and her parents are also canonized saints, and we have a lot of their writings. So it's really interesting for kids to see a child who learned to love Jesus and serve him at such a young age. So I really like those stories. So we're going to do Catholic Children's Treasure Box 1, and that is it for religion. So let me think. I may want to have, I do want to show you guys these. So we did get 2 of these coloring books from the New St. Joseph Picture Books brand. The new St. Joseph Kids books. So I got these on Amazon, but you can also get them from Communication Center. And this one is the Catholic ABC coloring book, and I also have the 10 Commandments one. So I have like one for each of my kids. So that is something that my daughter is able to enjoy, and having something to keep their hands busy helps with some of these read aloud type things. And I think the only other thing I'm gonna add to our morning basket is like some literature. So I have a couple of selections here. We have already started the Aesop for children, but my son really loves these because he's obsessed with animals, and they all have, well, not all of them, but most of these have animals in them. So I think that's what we're gonna do, is maybe on Mondays we will do Aesop, and let me see where we left off. Okay, so I'm just gonna write a page number. I think we left off on the Travelers and the Purse, and I'm not sure if my son is gonna be into that or not, but we'll try it. And then it will be a little reward if he gets through that. We'll read The Lion and the Ass and The Frogs Who Wished for a King. So we'll do Aesop on Monday. Then let's throw in like a classic fairy tale. So this was one that was recommended for the Mater Amabilis literature. It's My First Oxford Book of Stories by Geraldine McCaughrean. And we have also read a few of these already. We have not read The Wolf and the Seven Little Kids. So I think that's where we'll start with this one. And that one is page 42. Okay. So that'll be Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll throw in some poetry. And so I usually just like to pick just a random poem from A Child's Garden of Verses. And at least right now, I do try to go more towards the shorter poems. And let's go to the Wonders of Childhood section. That sounds nice. Okay, so maybe we will do a little bit longer one today, because I think my kids are gonna really like this one, The Duck's Ditty by Kenneth Graham. So that's page 118. Okay, and I will say, I know it's like, if you're a new homeschooling parent, it's probably a bit overwhelming to see all of these books and think about spending money on all of these books, but I got a lot of these from Thrift Books, which is a really great resource. Another thing is that the first time I got this book for my kids, I checked it out from our local library, and I'm finding that most libraries these days are not charging late fees, and our library there it was in a small town, so maybe there just wasn't as much demand for some of these books, but the librarians were very open to letting us renew books often, so that was really nice. And I do think that a lot of you know, depending on where you live, the explicitly Catholic ones might not be available at the library, but I'm usually able to find Tomie dePaola at the library, Aesop for sure, the poems, even if you can't find like this specific book, they probably have a book of fairy tales and folk tales for kids. And then like this next book that I'm going to use for Thursday, the More Favorite Tales from Grimm, I didn't even know this book existed. I just went to our library has a used book sale, and this was $2 at the library's used book sale. So there are definitely ways to do homeschooling in a very affordable way, and that is certainly one of our goals here. But anyways, back to planning. So I think for Thursdays we're gonna do the Grimm's Tales with this book, and then I think Fridays we're just gonna maybe take a break from literature or let my kids choose a picture book. So I'm not going to pick that right now because I don't have my bookshelf close to me. But for Grimm, okay, we've got The Brave Little Tailor is the next one that they haven't heard. And we might come back and revisit some of these tales that they have already heard, but it will be nice to have something fresh for the first week of school. So yeah, so that will be Thursday. Friday, we'll try to find a picture book for the morning basket. And then we're probably gonna, after all that stuff, we're gonna take a break and go play outside because that's what little kids need. That's something we try to do every day is get outside early. And sometimes that looks like just playing on the playset in our backyard. Sometimes that looks like going for a walk through our neighborhood, which we try to do a little bit of nature study on those walks. We live near a river, so it's a lot of fun to go and see if we can find ducks or herons. Other water birds are usually interesting to see. Sometimes we can see fish swimming around in the water. We like to stop and look at the mushrooms or different flowers that our neighbors are growing. So that is definitely a good option. So actually with that, I'm going to talk about science, which isn't on the pre-K recommendation for Mater Amabilis, but they do have some different books recommended for nature study. Now, the one that I've heard about a lot, I think there must be another curriculum that also uses this book. It's The Year at Maple Hill Farm, and we have already read that book. My son adores that book. And then there's a couple of other books listed on here, but I don't have any of the other ones. So we are actually probably going to focus just on this one, the Berenstain Bears Big Book of Science and Nature. He really likes this one. Since we are starting to move into fall, I think that's what we're going to focus on is the Berenstain Bears Almanac and talk about what fall looks like, some of the plants we see during fall. But for now, it's definitely still summer here. We're in the South. We're having, you know, our false fall right now. So it's gotten a little bit cooler, but I'm expecting it to warm up again. So we'll probably start in the summer section. Yeah. And so we'll just, you know, have fun reading this, but mostly it's going to be all about going outside and seeing what's happening outside. So I am going to write that down though. The Big Book of Science and Nature. And I don't know, maybe we will pull out The Year at Maple Hill Farm too. We, if you saw my last video, you know that my husband is in the military. So while he was deployed, we were living on my in-laws' farm, which is so interesting for young children. Like we had pigs and sheep and a dog and lots of chickens, of course, like lots of interesting things going on. So we don't have that where we are now, but we're reunited as a family, which is of course a huge blessing. But I think it might be like a fun little thing for us to read The Year at Maple Hill Farm again so that they can just remember. Okay, so unfortunately I'm back because my camera ran out of memory. So I got cut off when I was finishing up talking about science, which of course, like I said, will consist mostly of just being out in nature. And so we're gonna be like exploring our neighborhood and seeing what kinds of wildlife we have around here. And I obviously finished all of my planning for the week because I didn't like see the warning that was telling me I ran out of memory. So anyways, what I wrote down after science was what we're doing for math. So we are using Kindergarten Math with Confidence. Now, I looked through this when I was planning and I realized that some of this stuff my son already knows pretty well. Like the first lesson is numbers 1 to 4, and he knows how to count really well, and how to subbatize and those kind of things. So today was our first day of school, so we did look over lesson 1, but because of where he is with his levels, I just had him do the first couple of workbook pages that correspond, and we didn't do any of the other activities. But he doesn't mind. He loves doing workbooks, which I think is interesting because that's not really something I expected going into homeschooling with my background in child development and understanding how important play is. And of course, play is still very integrated into our lessons. That's why I chose Kindergarten Math with Confidence, because a lot of it is using manipulatives, and a lot of, there's also the book selections, which I really like. So that just fit really well with my educational philosophy. So that is our math pick. And so we did a review of lesson 1 today, and I think we're probably going to go through, and he just loves going through and tracing the numbers and coloring the pictures and stuff. So we might do a couple more workbook pages today, because my plan was to go ahead and skip ahead to lesson 4 based on what I saw in there. And I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and do that tomorrow, but we might do it on Wednesday if he doesn't want to finish the workbook pages today, which is totally fine. I want to take things slow, but also, I have to let him move at his own pace. And sometimes his own pace is like 100 miles per hour. If you have a gifted kid, you know how this is. So it's still very child-led. Now the next thing is our reading program, which I'm doing the Bob Books Beginner Readers. This is the workbook, and there were 3 sets of books that I got to go with this, which you don't have to. You can do the workbook on its own, but we did choose to get the books. I already had this set, the set 1 beginning readers, because those are actually what I used to learn how to read when I was little, so my mom passed them down to me. And then I bought the alphabet books, and right now he's actually finished both of these already and all the workbook pages. So we're doing rhyming words, and we just finished, we just did some movable alphabet today with the first one, Dan's Plan. So we got out his movable alphabet pieces, and I had him put together all the different rhyming words. So it was like Dan, plan, can, and then we came up with some others, like man wasn't in the story, but he knows that word, of course, and it rhymes. So we had his movable alphabet, and he would just change the starting sound so we could see how rhyming works. And then I did where I had him look at a word in the story and then closed it and asked him to spell it on his own. And they're all pretty short words, so he did really well with that, and he enjoyed it too. Now he's actually just doing some free play with his movable alphabet, which he loves to do. So it's just a good way to let your kids get familiar with the alphabet. At this age, some kids are going to be ready to know all the letter sounds and spell the words, and not every kid is going to be ready at this age to do that. So it's okay to just have some little alphabet manipulatives that they're just playing with, even if they're not familiar with it yet. If you're playing with them, of course, you can pull out some letters and be like, P says P. Or some people don't want to do the letter names yet, and that is totally fine too. So some people just go P, P, like showing the letter P or whatever letters you're playing with. So that's our phonics. Tomorrow, we're going to do the workbook pages for that book. Wednesday, the Bob Book set actually came with these little puzzle cards, so they break apart, and then you can put the different starting letters for the rhyming. So really similar to what we did today, but just a good review. And then he has some puzzles with 3-letter words, and he loves puzzles, so I'm gonna let him do that on Thursday. He already knows the words on those puzzles, but it's still just fun for him to put the puzzles together, and it's a good practice. And then on Friday, I'm gonna let him choose something to do, which might be still with this book, or we've got a lot of other early readers. So we have some other little early readers, like these Animals Antics ones, which were actually my brother's when we were little, and so more hand-me-downs from my mom. So he's loving those. They're pretty simple. Or we have We have ones like this that are just like simple level 1 readers, and sometimes there's a few words in there that are more difficult for him, but for the most part he's doing pretty well with those, so I'll just like let him choose a book. And okay, so the last thing is social studies. For today, for social studies, we read this book, Me on the Map, which is like talking about, you know, you live in a house, on a street, in a city, in a state, etc., to give your kids an idea of knowing where they live. And then my son loved that this little girl is like drawing pictures throughout the whole book, so he did draw a picture of the earth when we were done. And then my other things for social studies, 2 books. So Tuesday we are doing The Children Just Like Me, and the first one is The Country of Bolivia, so we're gonna read that one and maybe watch some YouTube videos about Bolivia. And then on Wednesday, we're gonna read the first section of Turn of the Century, which is the year 1000, I think, yeah. So it's like about children throughout the ages in different centuries. And we don't actually have anything planned for social studies the rest of the week, but we're probably gonna do maybe some YouTube videos that have to do with social studies, or just, you know, living life can be social studies. But that's it for our first week of homeschooling, and hopefully I'll be back with another video soon. Let me know in the comments if there's anything particular you'd like to see, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Bye.